Incredible journey. Black woman CEO exposed life-changing call that grounded 50 flights forever. Maya Johnson was on the verge of her biggest breakthrough. The morning sun poured through her office window, illuminating the bustling streets of Chicago. Her phone buzzed, and a call from a major national airline popped up on the screen. Heart racing, she answered. We want to partner with you to revolutionize our flight scheduling system. Dreams danced in her head. This was it. The fulfillment of her ambition. The promise of impact. But just as hope ignited, chaos erupted. An urgent message flashed on her screen: 50 flights grounded. A technical failure in the very system she was poised to implement sent her heart plummeting. Families, business travelers, and veterans were stranded, helpless in the chaos of a bustling airport. Maya felt the weight of the world on her shoulders, her dreams slipping away like grains of sand through her fingers. She stood firm, rooted in the values of her childhood neighborhood where help was always just a door away. Team! She called, gathering her close-knit staff. Each face echoed the determination she felt inside friends who'd become family. They brainstormed solutions, sharing personal anecdotes, their voices rising in unison, a chorus of solidarity. The familiar feeling of community enveloped her. As the media bombarded her company with accusations, Maya's determination transformed into a fierce resolve. She could hear the whispers behind her back, the unjust judgments based on the color of her skin and gender cut deep. But she wouldn't let them define her. We need to be transparent, she declared, as her colleagues nodded. She was ready to confront the scrutiny head-on. The pressure grew when she learned the grounding was rooted in systemic issues, the airline industry grappling with economic inequalities. This was bigger than her success. Could she sacrifice personal gain for her community? Uncertainty tightened around her like a vice. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Returning her focus to the crisis, Maya stepped onto the stage before the cameras, adrenaline coursing through her veins. The issues we face in this industry reflect the struggles of many, she began, her voice steady yet impassioned. We can't ignore the human cost behind technical failures. Words spilled from her heart, resonating with everyone in that room, a raw sense of honesty wrapping around her like a warm embrace. As she finished, silence fell. Her audience hung on her every word. Maya knew she was standing on the edge of not only defining her legacy, but also igniting a fire for change. The fervor of the moment pushed her forward, but doubts lingered in the air. Could she truly rise above the prejudices? Or would the weight of expectations crush her dreams once and for all? Maya stood there, determined yet vulnerable, on the brink of a new journey as questions loomed large about her next steps and the future of everything she believed in. Maya took a deep breath, the air thick with tension, and stepped down from the stage. Voices swirled around her, the sound of reporters clamoring for interviews, each seeking a piece of her story. But her heart was heavy, not with fear, but with clarity. This moment could be a turning point, but it also came with a gamble she hadn't fully considered. Fighting for change might mean risking everything. After the press conference, Maya returned to her office, grateful for the sanctuary it provided. As her colleagues began to filter in, she saw their expressions equal parts admiration and concern. The warm lighting flickered above her, reflecting the ambivalence within her about the whirlwind ahead. She had their respect, but what if she couldn't deliver on their hopes? Can we do it? Raj, her lead developer, asked. His brow was furrowed, and Maya could read the uncertainty etched on his face. It echoed her own. We have to, she replied, her voice firm. But we'll need to rethink our approach. Maya gathered her team around the conference table. They had built this company from the ground up, fueled by the idea that technology could make lives easier, more connected. Now, the stakes were higher than ever. She pulled out a large whiteboard, quickly jotting down ideas as they flowed in from her team. Let us form a response team that includes engineers, customer service, and public relations, she suggested, looking around the table. We have to fix the root cause and not just the symptoms of this chaos. We need a plan that acknowledges the systemic issues at play. The room buzzed with energy. Solutions emerged from the chaos. They discussed exploring community partnerships and holding town hall meetings, where the airline's customers could express their frustrations directly. Maya felt the flicker of hope ignite inside her again. They were not just addressing a technical failure. They were advocating for a more equitable system, one that lifted not just their company but their entire community. As the day moved on, the initial excitement morphed into action. Teleconference calls to various stakeholders had Maya bouncing back and forth between ideas, her pulse quickening with each new development. But under the adrenaline was a gnawing fear: would their efforts be enough? Just when Maya thought she might squeeze in a moment to breathe, her phone lit up with a new notification. It was a message from a community member, someone affected by the cancellations. The message read simply, "I hope you're working hard to fix this. We all depend on you." She stared at the screen, the weight of expectation crashing down on her again. Maya knew the eyes of her community were on her, and if she failed them, it would cut deeper than any media scrutiny. But that very thought lit a fire inside her. She would not let them down. As night fell and the last of her staff trickled out, Maya stayed to finish what they had started. She wrote down the company's mission statement and underlined one simple phrase: "Together, we rise." The glow of the city lights seeped into her office, and Maya realized that this was just the beginning. The fight would be tough, but she felt ready. She knew that every setback brought the potential for transformation. Little did she know, a storm was brewing in the industry, one that could shake the foundations of her resolve and test her leadership in ways she had never imagined. What was waiting just around the corner? Only time would tell. Maya sat in her office, the soft hum of her laptop humming against the backdrop of the city night. The embers of hope she felt earlier were now battling her doubts, the weight of her responsibilities pressing down like a heavy blanket. The new message still lingered in her mind, echoing the collective anxiety of her community. She glanced at the clock late, but she couldn't stop now. They needed a plan, and she intended to deliver. From her desk, she stared at the whiteboard inscribed with ideas, partnerships, town halls, initiatives to rebuild trust. Each word felt like a promise. But how would she transform her aspirations into reality? The thought gnawed at her. She reached for her phone again, this time calling Raj. "Raj, can you pull up the latest customer feedback? I want to get a better sense of what people really think." "On it," he replied, his voice steady but strained. She could tell he shared her worry. While waiting, Maya paced across her office, tapping her fingers restlessly against her thigh. She glanced toward her window, where the city shimmered beneath the blanket of night. Something incredible had happened today. She had found her voice among the reporters, but now it was time to ensure that voice would resonate far beyond the press conference, and reach those who mattered most, the customers. Raj's voice broke her thoughts. "Maya, I've got the data. The cancellations hit hard. Customers are furious, but there's also a willingness to listen to us if we show we're serious about fixing this." Maya held the phone tighter, her heart racing. "What do you mean?" "They want transparency, real communication. They need to feel valued again." He was right. It wasn't just about fixing the technical errors. It was about rebuilding a bridge. "Let us hold a live stream discussion with our customers," she suggested, bursting with a sudden resolve. "We can address their concerns directly. No filters, just us talking. They want to know we hear them." Raj paused before responding. "That's bold, Maya. It could go either way, but it might just be what we need." "It's worth the risk," she affirmed, the adrenaline surging through her once more. "Let us set it up." As they mapped out details, Maya felt a surge of energy that hadn't come from her earlier frustration. This was an opportunity not just to drive change but also to show her team, her customers, and herself that they all mattered. An hour later, she wrapped up the call with Raj, excited but nervous. The next day, they began to prepare. Posters were designed, social media announcements crafted. Maya found herself immersed in the back end of the planning, connecting with departments, and drawing on her team's expertise. Even the community members who had become advocates surprised her with ideas and insights. There was a sense of unity. Days turned into a blur, and then it was the night before the live stream. She lay in bed, anxiety clawing at her stomach. Was she making the right move? Would this level of openness be received well, or would they just be more outraged? In those moments of doubt, she gripped her pillow and thought of her team, their faith in her burning brightly. They were more than employees. They were partners in a mission. Together we rise, she whispered, reciting her mantra to steady her racing heart. The next day came fast. She stood backstage, the bright lights shining down, her palms sweaty as her heart raced. She took long, deep breaths, channeling her nerves into determination. This was her moment to not just speak but to inspire. When she stepped out to face the camera, the chatter of customers flowed in on the live chat. Their grievances lit up the screen, but also their hopes. Nobody had prepared her for what would come next, the wave of emotion. But just as she began to speak, a headline flashed across her screen from an industry source, catching her off guard. Major airline faces backlash, COS transparency in question. Maya's breath hitched. She felt like a target, exposed, right before she'd even begun her fight. Could this move really position her as a leader? Or was it the beginning of something much bigger than she had anticipated? Now she stood on the edge, ready to leap, and the future felt uncertain. What lay ahead for her and her company? Would they persevere, or would everything come crashing down around them? Only during the live stream would she find out. Maya took a deep breath, the intensity of the moment pressing against her like a tide. She glanced out at the camera, the lights blinding her but illuminating the path forward. The chat on the screen was swirling with emotions: frustration, hope, anger. It was a mix she wasn't quite ready for, but it mirrored her own swirling thoughts. "Thank you all for joining today," she began, her voice steadying as she made eye contact with the camera. "I know you're here because you have questions, and I'm here to answer them, to listen." The words felt like a lifeline, pulling her from the uncertainty and into a dialogue that could change everything. She started by addressing the allegations from the headline, eyes focused, determined. "Some industry commentators have suggested that our commitment to transparency is wavering, but I assure you, it's stronger than ever." Within moments, the chat blew up with comments. Some people expressed outrage, eager to share their own stories of cancellations and disruptions. Others were waiting, hopeful for a resolution. Her heart pounded as she scrolled through the messages. It was a wild sea of feelings, and she was at the helm. "Maya, how can we trust you?" a user named Sarah typed. "You cancelled my flight and left me stranded." She took a breath, acknowledging the validity of the pain. "Sarah, I understand your frustration. Trust is earned, and I recognize we've broken that trust. But this is our chance to rebuild it together. I want to understand your pain directly." The chat started to reflect a shift in tone. People were engaged, asking hard questions, but also giving her space to respond. It felt like the beginnings of a conversation rather than a confrontation. A voice crackled in her earpiece, Raj's. "Maya, keep an eye on the data coming in. Some customers are responding while others are still skeptical," he urged, gauging the atmosphere as she spoke. She nodded, keeping it in mind. Their mutual support made her feel less alone on this public stage. "Together, we can overcome this," she reiterated, her passion rising. "We're working on improving our service based on your feedback." Maya continued, weaving her way through their concerns, acknowledging fears and frustrations. "It's not just about fixing flights, it's about fixing how we communicate with you." The comments kept flowing in. Each time she addressed one, it became personal. In that moment, she shared stories from the towns impacted by cancellations, humanizing the situation and transforming a corporate fiasco into a collective experience. Then, as she turned to a particularly tough question about compensation, she caught a glimpse of the screen again. A user had just typed something that made her heart stop. "We're all rooting for you, but this doesn't change what happened." Just then, her phone buzzed ferociously in her pocket. She quickly glanced down, and her heart sank. It was a headline notification. "COS apology, real or just damage control?" Maya's focus faltered, fear prickling at her conscience. Was this really a chance for redemption, or merely a perception management tactic? The uncertainty seeped into her resolve. "I know there is skepticism, and it's valid. Change doesn't happen overnight. But please know, it's not just empty promises." As she voiced that last sentence, she caught a glimpse of Raj's concerned face behind the camera. His expression was that of unwavering support, yet the worry lines on his forehead told a different story. "I promise that improvements will be made. We'll open up lines of communication, and I will ensure that we hold ourselves accountable," she said, her voice rising with determination. Suddenly, the chat lit up again. "You have a long way to go, but we appreciate your honesty." "Thank you, Maya!" A flicker of hope ignited inside her. Maybe this was the turning point. Maybe they could rebuild what was lost. As she leaned into the computer, her heart swelling, she felt a deep connection to those tuning in. They weren't just customers. They were her community. But just as she was beginning to grasp that camaraderie, someone else typed in, "What will happen tomorrow, Maya? Can you assure us this won't happen again?" Her heart raced the chance to show commitment, but also the fear of promises unmet loomed over her like a storm cloud. "Tomorrow, we begin a new chapter together," she replied slowly, letting each word sink in. "But can I guarantee it? No. All I can promise is that we're going to work hard to be better." The uncertainty of tomorrow now rested heavily in her chest. Would the community feel the change through sincere effort, or would their doubts chase them away? In that moment, she realized something bigger was at stake than customer satisfaction. It was about reclaiming her voice in a world uncertain about trust. As the live stream wound down, she logged off with a mix of exhilaration and apprehension. She turned to Raj, who said, "You did it, Maya. But this is just the beginning." Maya nodded, feeling the weight of the road ahead. They were still standing at the base of a mountain yet to be climbed, each step forward carrying more significance than the last. What lay ahead would demand every ounce of her strength, resolve, and creativity. And in that moment, a new email alert popped up on her screen. "Urgent, board meeting scheduled." Her blood ran cold as she pondered the implications. What would the board want from her now? Maya felt the tension in her muscles as she stared at the subject line of the email. The words "urgent, board meeting scheduled" echoed in her mind like a drumbeat. Was this the culmination of her online plea for understanding? Or an impending storm? "Raj," she called out, her voice betraying a hint of anxiety. He turned sharply, sensing the shift in her demeanor. "What's wrong?" he asked, crossing the distance between them. "Board meeting. It just popped up. I have a sinking feeling they want answers." She opened the email, her pulse quickening with every word she read. "They're scheduled to discuss the fallout from today's live stream. They want to know how I plan to regain trust in our brand." Raj frowned, his brow furrowing with concern. "They're not going to give you a breather after that call?" "It was promising, Maya." "I thought so too," she said, sighing. "But the board has a different perspective. They're more focused on the numbers and the bad press." As she spoke, a wave of doubt washed over her. Would her heartfelt message resonate with them? In a world saturated with corporate jargon and cold metrics, how could she convey the urgency of authentic change? Raj leaned closer, his voice low. "We've got to prepare you. If they ask tough questions, you need a solid plan to show them you're not just talking." Maya nodded. "I know. But what if they don't buy it?" She turned back to the screen once more, seeking reassurance in the glowing chat that had felt so full of hope just moments ago. "You just need to show them this isn't just a PR stunt. You need to voice your convictions. Show them you believe in what you said," Raj urged, placing a comforting hand on her shoulder. She took a moment to gather her thoughts. "You're right. I need to focus on the emotion behind the data. This isn't just about the business, it's about the people we impact. Each flight cancelled means a family disrupted, a plan derailed. I need the board to see that. Her mind raced with memories from the chat. The passion in the responses, the stories shared, people hoping for change. She needed that as her fuel, a fire igniting her resolve. I'll walk you through it, Raj said, pulling a notepad out of his bag. Let us jot down your key points, how you plan to strengthen customer engagement, improve communication, and what measurable changes you're implementing. The words measurable changes rang in her ears, a stark reminder of the balance she needed to strike. The world demanded results, but the human stories demanded authenticity. As they brainstormed, ideas flowed like the morning sun breaking through the clouds. With every bullet point they crafted, her doubts began to fade, weaving together a narrative she could stand before the board with pride. Make sure you emphasize those community connections, Raj suggested. You have to convey that it's not just about business resilience, it's about community restoration. Maya's heart swelled. Yes. I'll talk about collaborative solutions, transparency in our difficulties, and ways we can empower customers to be part of the discussion. I want them to feel involved, to trust us again. She studied her list, letting hope blossom in her chest. Suddenly, her phone rang, jarring her focus. It was her mother. She answered, her voice quivering slightly. Mom? Maya. I just saw the live stream. Her mother's voice brightened. I'm so proud of you. You spoke with heart, and I know you can do this. Thanks, Mom. But there's a board meeting coming up, and I'm a little worried. Oh honey, you can't let them intimidate you. Just speak from your heart. That's what people want to hear. They'll sense your passion. As their conversation unfolded, Maya felt the last slivers of hesitation fall away. Her mother's unwavering belief in her stoked a fire she hadn't realized she needed. This wasn't just about fixing flights. It was about fixing trust, relationships, and what it meant to serve a community. Thanks, Mom. I needed that, she said softly, a smile breaking through her anxiety. As she hung up, she realized that this board meeting could either be a hurdle or a launch pad. Now, more than ever, she needed to harness every ounce of her passion. If she could convince the board to embrace change, then they could truly begin to reforge the connection with their community. Let us do this, Maya exclaimed, turning to Raj, determination shining in her eyes. There was a fire in her heart, and she was ready to fight for it. But what if, in her quest for redemption, she uncovered deeper issues lurking within the company? What would that mean for her and for the future she envisioned? Maya took a deep breath, the gravity of the moment weighing heavily on her shoulders. She and Raj continued to refine her thoughts, weaving passion and plans into a coherent message. Each point they discussed felt like a step toward reclaiming her narrative, a narrative that had become tangled in the chaotic aftermath of the live stream. This is more than just numbers, Raj reminded her for the umpteenth time, scribbling notes on the page. It's about connection. People need to feel seen, heard. Yes. And I need to make them understand the ripple effects of our decisions, Maya replied, her excitement building. It's about families. Every passenger represents someone's story. The clock ticked ominously in the background, a constant reminder of the impending board meeting. As the minutes slipped by, a flurry of butterflies took flight in her stomach. Would she really be able to convey all of this effectively? Just then, her phone buzzed again. It was a notification from her social media, another message in response to her earlier live stream. She quickly opened it. Maya, thank you for being our voice. We believe in you. It was a simple yet electric reminder of the people behind the numbers, the community she aimed to reconnect with. She smiled, the warmth of their support mingling with her determination. See? Raj said, noticing her expression. You've already inspired someone. Just keep that in mind. As they continued their brainstorming, Maya couldn't help but reflect on her journey to this point. There was a time when she felt like the underdog, battling doubt and insecurities every step of the way. The doubts hadn't disappeared entirely, but her surroundings had changed. Raj was there, And so was the unwavering support of her family, her community a powerful collective force. With her breath steadied, she could visualize herself standing before the board. It wouldn't just be a presentation, it would be a conversation. A call to action. Let us nail down that closing argument, Raj suggested, leaning in with renewed energy. You need a memorable finish. Maya thought hard. What if I said something like, trust isn't a number, it's a living entity that grows through our actions. Together we can transform not just our brand, but our community. Would that resonate? Raj beamed at her. Absolutely. That's beautiful. Just then, the atmosphere shifted when Raj's phone rang. He frowned at the screen and stood up to take the call, stepping a few paces away. As she worked silently on her notes, Maya caught quick snippets of his conversation, urgency wrapped in concern. Was it about the board meeting? Or something more personal? Her heart raced. She didn't want distractions now, not when she was so close to drawing on all her strength. She leaned against the wall, taking a moment to soak up the energy of anticipation and hesitation brewing in her chest. Raj came back, his expression more serious than before. That was my brother, he said quietly. There's been a flight incident. They grounded several flights due to a mechanical issue. Maya felt a chill at the news. What does that mean? He pinched the bridge of his nose, processing the implications. That means people affected by our airline's choices, each story of inconvenience and frustration. It's real and urgent. Not just for the boardroom but for families. Her stomach dropped as she put the pieces together. This incident, they had to address it head-on in the meeting. Failure would be monumental, but clarity could pave the way for something transformative. What if that becomes part of our discussion? Maya said, her mind racing with ideas. What if we take this moment to showcase our commitment to improvement? Raj's brows raised, a flicker of excitement lighting up his eyes. Yes. Use this situation to demonstrate urgency. Highlight what we're doing to ensure safety and regain reliability. This could be your chance to bridge their concerns. Maya realized she was standing on the edge of something monumental. This was more than just about her or her presentation. It was about the people depending on her. To lead with integrity. The flames of determination ignited within her again. She had to be ready, not just to fight for her vision but to unite her team's message in the face of adversity. As they fortified their strategy, Maya felt a surge of purpose. She sensed the tide beginning to turn, but with it came a daunting question: could she truly lead her company through this storm? And what revelations might come from confronting the very real struggles they faced? Maya's pulse raced as an unexpected determination washed over her. This moment was crucial, not just for her, but for every person tied to the airline. Raj's brother had given them a spark, an opportunity to address a fissure that threatened to deepen. I know what we need to do, she said, her voice a mixture of excitement and urgency. We have to think bigger than just the presentation. What if we turn this into a campaign for transparency? Raj nodded, pacing slightly as he absorbed her words. You mean like a public acknowledgement? Show that we're taking responsibility? Exactly, Maya exclaimed. Let us launch an initiative where we share updates, safety checks, and even personal stories from those affected by the incident. Show them we care deeply, that we're not just a faceless corporation. Raj's eyes lit up. That's powerful. It humanizes everything. If they see us actively trying to improve and connect, it will build trust. Maya couldn't help but smile. She returned to her notes with fervor. We can also include interviews or testimonials from those who stood up for us during the live stream. Use their voices to amplify our message. Real people sharing real experiences. Let us not just stop at fixing our image, Raj added. This can reshape how we engage people in the future. It's a way of saying, we're learning and evolving. As they synergized their thoughts, the initial weight of anxiety began to lift, replaced by the infectious energy of shared goals. Maya felt ready to step onto that boardroom floor, not just to present plans but to display a new direction for the whole company. She was leading a movement, a shift in perspective, a collective acknowledgement of accountability. Raj, we need to ensure our board understands the real impact, she urged. They can't merely see this as a business decision, it must resonate on a human level. He leaned in closer. So bring that emotional core. Tell them the stories, weave it into your presentation. Make each board member feel the urgency. The hint of weariness crept back into her mind, but she pushed it away. Instead, she pictured herself fired up on stage. This wasn't just a pitch, it was a moment to set the course for the future. Suddenly, Raj's eyebrows furrowed again as he glanced at his phone, the screen displaying a frantic message from his brother. Maya, hold on. I think we need to brace for more bad news. What do you mean? She felt her breath hitch. Something else has happened. There are reports of stranded passengers. Long delays. They're starting to share their frustrations on social media. Maya's stomach twisted as the weight of potential consequences hit her. How could they salvage the situation? Was there a plan left that could stitch this hole in their reputation before it unraveled completely? Let us take that and flip it, she suggested, shaking her head to clear her thoughts. Use their frustration as a connecting point. Encourage them to share their stories directly with us. Let us hold a live Q&A after our presentation to address it head-on. Raj raised his chin, considering her words. That would add a layer of transparency and show that we're listening, not just talking. Maya felt a mix of dread and excitement. Each step they took was bold, but it needed to be if they wanted to earn back the faith of their community. She couldn't shake the sense that this was the moment everything could change, not just for her but for all those affected by their decisions. Raj, can you help me gather those stories? Share them out with the team? She urged. If we're going to take this leap, we need the right voices to join us. Absolutely, he affirmed, already brainstorming. Maya could see the pieces beginning to align like stars in the night sky. But the question lingered, casting a shadow over her resolve. Would they have enough time to enact change? Would the board embrace this shift, or would they resist, holding tightly to the old ways? As the clock continued its relentless ticking, Maya's heart raced and a familiar flame ignited within her. She was ready to be the catalyst for something revolutionary. But would they be ready to rise with her when the moment of truth finally arrived? Maya took a deep breath, steeling herself for the impending challenge. Raj's determined nod encouraged her as they started drafting ideas for their presentation. It was game time, and they were fueled by the need for action. This was more than just business. It was personal. She stared at her laptop, the glow illuminating her face. With every word that flowed onto the screen, she felt a connection deepening with people she hadn't even met. Stories of hearts broken by missed flights, families separated by delays, and endless hours spent in crowded terminals haunted her thoughts. They would use those stories as fuel, turning frustration into opportunity. Let us get testimonials from the passengers, Raj proposed. People need to understand they're not alone. We need to showcase their voices as much as our own. Right, Maya agreed, excitement sparking anew. We can feature them in a viral video series. Let us capture the raw emotion of their journeys, actual images, clips from the delays. Make it real, make it relatable. As they worked, hours sped by. In between sips of coffee and piles of notes, every ounce of fear and doubt melted away, replaced by a resolute cheer. They were doing something. It felt empowering. Chaos suddenly erupted from Raj's phone. A pang of notifications swarmed his screen. Oh no. It's not just delays anymore, he said, his voice lowering. They're talking about potential cancellations. It's a full-on disaster. Maya felt the ground shift beneath her. The joy they felt just moments ago seemed overshadowed by a thick cloud of dread. This can't get worse, she muttered under her breath. Raj glanced up, a hint of fear shadowing his face. What if we can't stop it? What if they cancel all our flights? Those words landed like stone. No. We cannot think like that. We need to pivot again. Fast. She shot back, desperation igniting her thoughts. What if we host a town hall meeting instead? Create a space for passengers and families to voice their concerns? We should also invite our maintenance team to explain safety checks and reassure everyone. I love that idea, he exclaimed. It's a chance for human connection and empathy. We can show we're more than just a corporation, we're a part of their lives. Maya felt a flicker of hope. We can live stream it. Let us turn it into an event, a community gathering, even if it's virtual. This isn't just about weather delays, it's about building a community that cares. But as they brainstormed, a nagging worry clawed at her insides. Would the board embrace these radical ideas? Would they support them in this pressing challenge? Or would they pull back, too scared to step outside their comfort zones? Maya's heart raced again, this time with anxiety. The thought of standing in front of the board and pitching something so different, so raw, terrified her. Yet, she felt more alive than ever. Raj, she said, her voice firm. We need to communicate to them how urgent this moment is. They have to understand that our reputation isn't just an asset, it's a lifeline to our customers. It's now or never. Raj agreed, his eyes reflecting her fervor. Let us draft a presentation that puts them in the shoes of the passengers. Humanize it. They must feel this. They dove back into their brainstorming, hands dancing over keyboards. The clock ticked on, a constant reminder of the stakes, but with every keystroke, they drew closer to something monumental. Yet, as her fingers paused over the keyboard, uncertainty clawed at her throat. What if this all backfired? What if they failed? Would their efforts be in vain? Before she could dwell too long on the what-ifs, the phone rang, breaking the tension. It was the board. They wanted to meet immediately. Maya shot Raj an anxious look. It's time, but what if they don't see our vision? With her heart pounding in her ears, she realized the weight of those words. The moment of truth was finally upon them. Would their ideas break through the noise, or would they fall flat? She took another deep breath, readying herself for whatever lay ahead. It was time to show them that change was possible, even when the ground beneath was shifting. But as she stepped into the meeting room, a doubt lingered. Would the board embrace the change she desperately needed them to recognize? Maya pushed the door open, a wave of cool air greeting her as she stepped into the sterile meeting room. The stark white walls felt like they were closing in on her, but she shook off the creeping anxiety and took her place at the front. She could feel her heartbeat pounding against her chest, a rapid drum echoing in the silence. Raj took a seat a little too close for comfort, his presence a reassuring anchor. The board members gathered around the conference table, their expressions a mix of curiosity and skepticism. Maya met their gazes head-on, forcing herself to appear confident. She was ready, she had to be. Thank you for being here on such short notice, Maya began, her voice steady but laced with urgency. We're facing a crisis, and I believe we have a unique opportunity to turn it into something good. Maya sensed the room breathe a little easier, her words hung like a promise. She clicked the remote, and a slide filled the screen, a cacophony of images showing frustrated passengers, children crying, and families worried about missed connections. Look, she continued, this is not just about operational delays. These are real people with real lives left in the lurch. We need to acknowledge that before we dive into solutions. She glanced at Raj and saw his nod of approval. One board member raised an eyebrow. And what solutions do you propose? How can we change the course of this situation? Maya exhaled slowly, launching into their plan with fervor. We want to hold a town hall meeting, inviting affected passengers and families. We'll create a safe space for them to voice their concerns, share their stories, and connect with our maintenance team. We'll even live stream it for those who can't attend. At that, a murmured ripple of skepticism crossed the room. Live streaming? That could backfire if things don't go as planned, another board member warned. Yes, it's risky, Maya acknowledged, her heart racing again. But staying silent is riskier. We need to show them our commitment to transparency, to empathy. This is more than just business, it's about building trust and community. A tense stillness filled the room as the board exchanged glances, their expressions unreadable. Maya felt the weight of their expectations, but she pressed on, fueled by the need to rally them. If we act decisively now, we can connect. We can change the narrative. It's not just a meeting, it's our chance to be part of their journey. Finally, Raj interjected, his voice strong. People care about the story behind their airline. If we don't acknowledge their pain now, when everything seems chaotic, we will lose them forever. A soft resonance of agreement settled in the air, and for the first time, Maya felt a glimmer of hope dance in the room. But just as she began to feel optimistic, another board member spoke up. And what if this all blows up? What's the fallback plan? Maya tightened her grip on the podium, a deep breath filling her lungs as she prepared to respond. There's always a chance for backlash, but we believe in taking ownership of our mistakes. We have to be brave enough to put our vulnerabilities on display. That's how trust is built. A long pause followed her words. The room hung heavy with the weight of their decision, and she could see contemplation etched across their faces. Finally, the chairperson leaned in, his voice thoughtful yet firm. Maya, change can be scary, but perhaps you're right. Maybe it's time to take that leap. The room buzzed with a mix of excitement and uncertainty. They were on the brink of something monumental, and with every heartbeat, Maya felt the urgency pulse in her veins. But as their agreement began to unfold and actions swirled in her mind, her phone buzzed silently in her pocket. She glanced down, and her stomach dropped. It was a news alert about the potential cancellations. Would they still move forward amid the chaos? Maya met Raj's gaze, a storm of uncertainty swirling within them. The stakes were higher than ever, and as she prepared to dive into the next phase of their plan, the glimmer of hope fought against the shadows of doubt that crept closer with each passing second. Would this be the moment they changed everything, or would it shatter under the pressure? Maya sat at the long boardroom table with Raj beside her, feeling the heaviness of the moment press against her chest. The room had shifted since the ideas began to flow, but the tensions remained palpable. Yet she felt different now, grounded, focused, and ready to embrace the turning tide. Thank you for your willingness to consider this, she began, her voice firm as she met the collective gaze of the board members. We all know that trust takes time to rebuild. But time is of the essence. The community is waiting for us to take action. If we want to lead, we must stand with them in their struggles. The chairperson nodded slowly, processing her words, and Maya felt a flicker of hope ignite in the room. Let us talk specifics, he said, leaning in. What exactly would this town hall look like? Maya straightened, all nerves dissipating. The plan is simple, she explained. We'll host the event at a community center close to the airport. We'll invite passengers impacted by the cancellations, our maintenance team for transparency, and myself to facilitate. We want to hear their stories, understand their feelings fully, and outline steps we're taking to prevent this from happening again. A board member interjected, and if they're hostile? What's your strategy for handling that? Maya took a breath, her heart racing. We anticipate some tough emotions, and that's okay. This is about acknowledging their pain. We can't fix what we don't confront. By taking this step, we say, we see you, and we want to make it right. This could transform angry voices into advocates for change if we listen and respond genuinely. More murmurs washed over the table, some skeptical, but others intrigued. Encouraged, Maya pressed on, her passion fueling the argument. We've faced challenging moments before. This can either be our downfall, or it can unite us with our community. It's time to show them we care. At that point, Raj chimed in, we have to champion customer voices. It's never been just about numbers and profit, there are human stories here. We need our passengers to see our commitment to their experience, not just as a business exchange but as a relationship. As the members of the board exchanged glances, Maya felt the excitement swell in the room. They were moving towards something together, something possible. The chairperson's brow furrowed again, and he placed a steady hand on the table. If we pursue this, I need to know you and your team are ready. If things go south, we'll need immediate responses and actionable plans. Absolutely, she assured him, the determination in her voice clear. We're prepared to put in the work. I will lead both the discussion and the communication. It won't always be easy, but I believe in the people we're serving. They deserve to feel heard. For the first time, she sensed a shift in the air. She could see optimism as they mulled over her proposal. Had they just crossed the crucial threshold? The chairperson sat back, a contemplative expression surfacing. Very well. Let us not just proceed with caution. Let us embrace this opportunity to rebuild. Maya's heart raced. She felt weight lift, and she could see Raj's eyes glimmering with hope. Finally, someone chimed in, let us get logistics sorted, shall we? The board began to discuss planning details, their voices rising with each sentence, crafting strategies and ideas, and Maya felt their passion and energy swell. They were in agreement, ready to embrace the plan. Moments later, as discussions dwindled down, the chairperson glanced back at her. Maya, let us ensure this is a pivotal moment for our community. Transparent and effective action is what we need. Yes, she responded with a smile that radiated joy. It's about moving forward. Together. As the meeting concluded, Maya walked out feeling lighter than air. The storm cloud lurking just moments before seemed to dissipate. She turned to Raj, who was grinning from ear to ear. Did we really just do that? We did, he replied, his voice bubbling with excitement. You were phenomenal. As they exited the boardroom, something shifted. Deep inside Maya, she could feel the ground beneath her feet solidifying, inspiring her with a newfound sense of purpose. It was all coming together. She wasn't just a CEO anymore. She was a leader, someone who could drive real change by humanizing a corporation that had too long hidden behind its own corporate walls. Days passed, and the town hall meeting quickly transformed into a magnifying glass for communal spirit and connection. On the day of the event, the room was electric with anticipation. Maya stood in front of the eager crowd, the warmth of their hopes and fears intertwining with her own. Thank you all for being here, she boomed. Today isn't about us, it's about you. Let us talk about what matters most, your stories. As she listened to families recount disruptions and hardships, she felt tears spill down her cheeks, not for sadness, but for the bond she felt growing between her and her community. Each testimony captured the heart of what it meant to connect and heal. This was the transformation they had dreamed of, and it was finally happening. When the session ended, applause erupted. Voices broke through with gratitude for the chance to speak, for being seen. Maya stepped off that stage, overwhelmed yet buoyed by the power of connection she had experienced. As she walked through the mingling masses, a child approached her, a little girl with bright eyes. Are you really going to fix everything? She asked, innocence shining through. Maya knelt down, a smile spreading across her face. We're going to try our hardest. Will you help us? The girl's nod sent a warmth bubbling in her chest. I will. As Maya rose and looked around the room, she realized that this journey wouldn't stop here. The change she sparked today was only a beginning. The path ahead held many challenges, but for the first time in a long while, her heart felt light with hope and possibility. It was the moment she transformed not just as a CEO, but as a beacon of hope for her community, a light guiding them through the storm. She embraced the journey of rebuilding trust, knowing every step was worth it. This was their story, and she was proud to lead it. And now, for everyone witnessing this incredible transformation, this is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe now to not miss out on our next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and spread this positivity. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this ending, and don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Together, we can keep pushing forward.